The January transfer window is in a couple days, and I think it's a good idea to recommend a player for each Premier League team. So I'm going to start off at the bottom of the league and work my way up. So at the bottom of the league, after game week 17, is Southampton. For Southampton, I thought it was logical to go for a striker, as they are the lowest scoring team in the league right now with only 11 goals. And right now, Cameron Archer, Armstrong, neither of them are physically threatening. So I think they need a big target guy at top. And that's why I went with Awoniyi from Forest. Right now, he's not getting many minutes. He's already proven that he is Premier League quality. So I think it's a good idea to go for him. In 19th place, we have Wolves. For Wolves, I thought the opposite. They are the team with the highest conceding goals with 40. So I went with the defender. And I went with the guy who last year I thought he was pretty good. And now he can't even get into the starting team at Crystal. And that's Chris Richards. I thought Chris Richards was pretty good last season. Maybe a little bit biased since I am, half American. So maybe a little bit biased. And it will be a tough task for him and the other two center backs to push Wolves away from relegation. They will probably fail, but I think Chris Richards needs a move and needs to get more playing time under his belt. Next up, I got Ipswich. Ipswich right now are struggling with creativity, in my opinion, or at least scoring goals. And I think they need someone more forward instead of a defender. And that's why I went with Enciso, but not a permanent, more of a loan. So Enciso, we've seen a couple games of him. We've seen what he can do. He's an exciting player. He can take long shots, creative, determined. But at Brighton, I just don't see him breaking through to the first team. They have a lot of players in that position. They just got Ruter, who is starting over him. So for Enciso to benefit his career, I feel like it's a good idea to move on, or at least for a loan for half a season to prove that you can do it. But it's really just up to him if he wants to do that, because I think he's a quality player. I think he can get a bigger move, but he's just not going to show it on the bench. Next up, I got Leicester City in 17th place. And for them, I got another loan, and that's Konsa. So right now at Villa, Konsa can't really start in his preferred position at center back. You got Diego Carlos and Pau Torres on lock, which forces Unai to push Konsa off to the right back spot, which he does good, but that's not where he wants to be playing. And Leicester do need a center back. Wout Faes, I've said it before, he's one of the worst center backs I've seen in my life. So I think Leicester need a replacement for him, and I think Konsa would be a decent player there. We move on to Everton. Everton right now, I think they need a striker. Both Calvert-Lewin and Beto are just not it. I think Calvert-Lewin has been long overdue. He needs to leave. And that's why I went for a more exciting player, a more exciting striker, not just a target man up top. I went for Cucho Hernandez. So I didn't know much about Cucho Hernandez. He plays in the MLS. I don't watch the MLS. But he had 19 goals and 11 assists in the MLS this season, which is pretty damn good. I know he isn't a striker that Everton usually go for, a big guy. He's a smaller dude, more playmaking type. But I think it's time to move away from that type of style of just brute and force and actually play some football. You have Ndai, you have McNeil who can play off of him. I feel like it'd be better for the team instead of just having someone up top not getting the ball, because majority of the time Everton are defending. Next up is Crystal Palace, and for Crystal Palace I went for a midfielder, and this pick was more because I like this player and I think he needs more playing time, and also it could potentially allow Eze to move on since this player is more attacking, and that's Billing. So Billing at Bournemouth right now, he is not getting his minutes. He was a great player in the 22-23 season, but now that Areola's there, Areola doesn't even look at him. He's not getting many minutes. Maybe as a sub, last 3 minutes of the game, he'll come on, and that's just not enough for him. I feel like he's pretty damn good. I feel like him with Wharton could be potential for the future. But yeah, Billing to Crystal. Next up is West Ham. They are in 14th place. And similar thinking to Everton about getting rid of just a big striker up top and for a more dynamic striker, I went for Gabriel Jesus. So Jesus at the moment at Arsenal isn't getting playing time. I know he just got a hat trick against Crystal, but I feel like that isn't gonna push him towards first team. He needs to move, in my opinion. I think Arsenal have outgrown him, so I think he needs to move down to another team again. West Ham are in need of a striker. We know that Antonio got in that accident, so he's not gonna be coming back. Danny Ings is old. Fulkrug did get signed, but I mean he's not even getting minutes at the moment. And honestly, West Ham, they have Paqueta, they have Bowen, they have Kudos, they have Somerville. These are beautiful players. They play well, and if you have just a big guy up top, it just takes away from the team. It doesn't flow. And if you have Jesus, I feel like it'll flow way more. And if Jesus doesn't do it at striker, you can flip him with Bowen, since Jesus, honestly, I think he's better on the right wing, and Bowen can play striker. I feel like you can swap around, and this team will kill. This team will do damage. Next up, we have United. So right now, United have a couple pieces they're missing, but in my opinion, that left wing back spot is somewhere you need to look at. Rashford could be in there, but he's already saying he's gonna move. Garnacho doesn't look like he's gonna hit his potential. Shaw is always injured. Malacia is a good backup, second option. So I think they need to go for that position. And I think they need to go big, show that they mean business, and they should go for Alphonso Davies. So Alphonso Davies is already rumored to go to Madrid, but I feel like United could pull the trigger early, actually buy him instead of allowing him to run out his contract and then go to Madrid. Buy him, show that you mean business, and pick him up. I feel like Alphonso Davies to United, I feel like it'll be appealing to him. There's a new project going on. That wing back spot is more like a left wing, so I feel like he can do it too because he plays left wing at Canada. So I think it's a perfect match. Next up, we have Newcastle. Newcastle honestly don't have much to improve. I don't know if that's crazy to say. I feel like a lot of their players are pretty damn good, but there's one position where I think they can go a little bit crazier, and that's the attacking midfield position. Right now they're running Joelinton. Joelinton is good, he's an engine, but he's not creative enough, and that's what this team needs at the moment. And this is why I went for probably an unrealistic pick, but I feel like it'll work, and that's Nkunku. So right now Nkunku is just known as the Conference League Destroyer. That's the only games he's really playing on Thursdays or whatever day they play on, and he's better than that. He needs to play more, and I feel like at Newcastle he'll get more minutes. But just imagine an Nkunku, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes center mid or midfield trio. I feel like that's dangerous. And if Isak does end up leaving, he can also fill that position. So he's also versatile. So he'll move up to the striker position, Joelinton back into the attacking mid position, and it will still work. Next up is Brentford, and honestly it was pretty hard to pick for Brentford because their team is as good as it's gonna get in my opinion, but there is rumors, or there's a potential that Mbeumo is gonna leave at the end of the season. He has shown that he is a great player, potential for a top 6 team. So I went for a replacement for him, get a replacement early instead of scrambling in the summer, and that's why I went for Raspadori. I don't know if Raspadori is a perfect replacement for him, but I think he's a great player. He can play in the wings, he can play in the cam, he can play striker, versatile once again. And at the moment at Napoli, he is not getting minutes under Conte. Conte has his set 11, and then he doesn't give much time for the rest. So I think it's good for his career, good replacement for Mbeumo. We continue with Spurs, 10th place for Spurs right now. And Spurs right now, defensively, they're lacking, possibly just because of that high line. Also, their center backs, two starting center backs, are out on injuries. It would be logical to go for a defender, but I didn't do that. I went for a left winger. Right now, Son is getting old. His contract is also expiring at the end of the summer, so I don't know if he's gonna re-sign. Timo Werner is awful. He's on loan right now, so he's gonna go back to Leipzig at the end of the summer. So that's why I went for a left wing. And this is probably not a starting left wing for Spurs, and this is also because I like this player. It's Ruben Vargas. So Ruben Vargas, I honestly don't watch Augsburg, but he's been there for 8 years right now. He's been there since like he was 18, I think, and he's still there. He's still doing the same things over there, but every time I see him for Switzerland, he's a top player. I feel like, where is this guy in club competitions? Where is this guy? I see him in Switzerland, but I never see him in club level. And I think for him, he should be moving on. His stats aren't great in terms of GA, but I feel like at Spurs, Ange can get something out of him. He's still pretty young. He's 26. He could also play on the right wing if Brennan Johnson isn't doing his job. He can play cam. Probably won't start over Kulusevski, or Madison, but he can play in the wings. I feel like he's a good backup winger instead of a actual starter, and you could probably go for a starter in the summer instead of now. Next up, we have Brighton. So right now, Brighton are in 9th place, and for Brighton, I was looking around the field again, and they once again have a lot of top players in every position. But I saw that in their left wing spot for Mitoma, they don't have backups. Mitoma has been playing every minute of the season, and I feel like eventually that's going to catch up to him and there's going to be an injury. So for me, I went for a left winger, and that is Galeno. So Galeno right now is at Porto. I've seen him a couple times in Champions League nights. Pretty good player. Gave Arsenal a tough time one time. And if you bring him in, he shares minutes with Mitoma, pushes him to his edge, and then whoever is the second best will probably move on, or it allows Mitoma to move on, because right now, or in the past, Mitoma was rumored to go to a top team. Everybody was, praising him, and that could give him the chance to do so. So yeah, Galeno right now for backup, and honestly to potentially move Mitoma on. Next up is Fulham. So Fulham, same story. As we get towards the top, it's hard to find players. But for Fulham, I had Reece Nelson at the beginning, but then he got injured, so he's out for a couple months or a couple weeks. And I didn't want to do that, so I went for a youngster. His name is Malik Fofana. He plays for Leon right now, and he has a couple GA. Maybe pricey because Leon are struggling financially. They need to sell players. They might put a big price tag on him, but I feel like Fulham, if they want to go to the next level, getting a youngster who's doing well in the Ligue 1, I feel like that's the move. Next up, we have Aston Villa, and for Villa, I went for an attacking midfielder because at the moment Rodgers is good. But I feel like it's almost inconsistent. Some games he doesn't do as well, and I feel like he doesn't have backup. Like if Rodgers gets injured, who do you have to bring in? And it is a big move. I went for Brahim Diaz. So right now, at the moment, Brahim Diaz is getting some minutes at Madrid. He comes up off the bench and stuff. But I feel like if he actually is serious about his career, again, move on. Because you have Bellingham, you have Arda Güler in there, a lot of competition. And if you come to Villa, you most likely will see a lot more minutes. You probably see European competitions as well. So I feel like Brahim Diaz is a quality player for the Prem. He's been at Milan, he's been at Madrid, like I said. City, he was at City's youth. So I feel like that's a good player to pick up. And if Unai Emery wants to move this team to the next level, I feel like Brahim Diaz over Rodgers makes sense. Next up, we have Bournemouth. Bournemouth, again, their team is as good as it's gonna get, except their right back spot. Right now, they're running Adam Smith, and I don't think he's Premier League. Oh, he's doing good, but you can get better, and that's why I went for Lamptey. So Lamptey right now at Brighton isn't doing well, or isn't starting enough. But back then, when I first saw Lamptey at Brighton, he was killing it. He was one of the best right backs in the league, which was crazy to say because that was a time when Walker, James, and Trent were all, doing their thing, and he was, still in the talks, still in there. And I feel like Lamptey at Bournemouth will complete that team. Having Kirkes and Lamptey both bombing down the wings, helping the wingers, I feel like that will just, that will complete the team. Next up, we have my team, Manchester City. Honestly, we need like 5 players, center backs, right backs, DMs, anything. But seriously, DM spot is where we need to focus right now. Our midfield has no legs. We get countered all the time, dispossessed and countered all the time. And that's why I went for a DM. A little unrealistic, maybe, but I went for Boubacar Kamara. And that's a loan, not a permanent transfer. So Boubacar Kamara recently came back from injury. His fitness, I guess, isn't quite there. Onana also came back from injury, so he can get back into the team. I say, let us borrow Kamara. We build his fitness, build his transfer value for you guys. He helps us, and everybody comes out as a winner. I think that's a great deal. Next up, we have Forest. Forest, once again, good everywhere, but their left back spot, I think, could improve. Right now, they're running Nico Williams and Alberto Moreno, I think. But I feel like it could get better than that. This is actually the last team I picked a player for because I recently saw him and I forgot he was even playing, and that's Reguilon. So Reguilon, we all know him. He's been at Brentford, he's been at United, he's been right now at Spurs, and in every team I feel like he does his job. I don't know why teams tend to push him out. They tend to get someone better than him. I feel like he's always doing his thing, and I feel like at Forest they can take him in, a Prem reject from other teams, and show that he is quality, like they done with Ilanga, show with Hudson-Odoi. Show he still has it. He's only 28, I believe. So I think it's a good move for him. Next up, we have Arsenal. Arsenal right now in 3rd place, struggling with goals or creativity. Right now, it looks like they only have Saka or other teams only have Saka to worry about. And if they have a similar player on the opposite side, the left wing, that spreads the defense more. Instead of just focusing on one side, you have 2, threats to worry about, and that's why I went for Rafael Leao. So Leao, right now at Milan, has had some beef with, management, the coach. Not sure exactly what it is, but I feel like it's, a perfect time to move on. Right now they're also struggling in the Serie A, so even more motivation to find a new challenge. But just imagine having Saka and Leao going at you at both wings. I feel like that's pushing Arsenal to be even more threatening than they were before. The only issue with Leao is that he doesn't track back. He is a pretty lazy player. So he likes to go forward, but tracking back is not his thing. But I feel like that wouldn't be an issue with Arsenal being a defensive team. So yeah, I feel it's a good deal for everyone. Next up, we have Chelsea in 2nd place. I think this was the hardest team to pick a player for because of the amount of depth they have. Is not only that their starting 11 is good, their second 11 is also good. So it's pretty damn hard. But the right back position is lacking because of Reece James, their captain. So right now, Reece James injured once again. I feel like this guy will never be injured free, so I feel like it's a good idea to go for a right back that can challenge Gusto, and that's why I went for Marcos Llorente. This was a little bit unrealistic since Marcos Llorente right now is playing for Atletico, is getting his minutes. Atletico's project is going well, But I feel like if Chelsea, can somehow convince him to move on, I feel like it will be great for the team. He can also play multiple positions, not just right back. I feel like he will give Gusto a run for his money, but he can also give a challenge to Latvia in that, that DM center mid position, as well as Enzo. Even right wing, I feel like he can play right wing. That's how good he is, both attacking and defensively. And right now they only have Madueke in there, so I feel like he will just challenge that whole right side. And the last team is Liverpool, the team at the top. Another hard team to pick for. They have a couple players that are, their contracts are running out. Salah, who I think is already going to resign. Trent, who we don't know about. And then Van Dijk also, who we don't know about. And then Alisson. But Alisson has backup. They have 2 goalies. Connor Bradley is a great replacement for Trent, so I don't think they need to worry about that. And then center backs, Van Dijk doesn't really have a backup, and if he leaves, do you want to run Kwanzaa? I don't think you do. So I feel a center back is great for them. Plus, Konate is out right now, so I feel like it'll work for them. And this is why I went for Skriniar. So right now, Skriniar is at PSG getting absolutely no minutes. He's just on the bench. He was a great player before he went there, back at Inter Milan, and his stocks have just plummeted. I feel like he needs to move on, and I feel like Liverpool could be a great spot for him. He could be, a replacement, temporary replacement for Virgil van Dijk if he does leave, because he is also a little older, but he also could be, standing in for Konate. I feel like it's a great idea. Everywhere else on the pitch, they're great. It does look like they have the upper hand in the league and could be winning the whole thing. So I feel like this is just a little cherry on top. So those were my recommendations. Tell me what you think in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.